Mic check 1 2. No intro needed. My name is Tam, and here's my performance review of the Nike Cosmic Unity. I've played basketball in these for around 18 plus hours in an indoor hardwood court. And even though I enjoyed playing in them, I didn't love them as much as I wanted to. And hopefully this video explains why. Let's start things off with sizing. My ideal size is a US size 8.5 or a European size 42 extra wide. But I wear a size 9 in all of my hoop shoes, and these fit true to size. I don't think these would be among the best options for wide footers out there like myself, because the footbed is actually pretty narrow and the midsole coming up on the sides are very noticeable even after breaking in. But if your feet have normal to narrow width, you'll definitely enjoy the fit and the on-feet feel of these. Oh, and one more sizing recommendation tip. If your ankle area is a little slim and your instep is low, I would recommend going down half a size, because the lockdown between the highest eyelets to the back of the heel counter or the ankle area overall is not the best. And I guess even Anthony Davis notices this less than ideal lockdown setup, that as you can see here, he utilized the little loops at the end of the decorative strips, I guess, on the sides of the eyelets here to hopefully lock his heels into the heel cups a little bit better and the feet overall onto the footbeds a little bit better. I personally did experience some heel slippage for the first 6-7 hours of playing, but once the sneakers are broken in and the midsole got softened up, the heel slippage got much less noticeable. Here's a quick look at the traditional lacing system with 6 pairs of eyelets and a fully detachable tongue, which is nicely padded, that feels super cozy and comfortable on feet, that alleviates all the pressure from the laces. And the tongue also have a bunch of holes for good ventilation. The ankle/heel cup area of the shoes are super well padded with a lot of foam and nice lining material that feels super comfortable and cozy to the touch, and visually they look like they should be hugging your Achilles very nicely and securely, but they actually don't. At least on the basketball level that us hoopers want to get, very nicely locked into the heel counters. I suspect that this little issue with a little bit of heel slippage is not much due to the padding or the heel cup construction sculpting, but the fact that the last or the highest eyelets do not go high enough to the ankle area or back enough to be close to the heel cup. Now, the majority of the upper material is made out of a thick and textured knit material that doesn't really stretch, but is flexible enough to wrap around your foot quite comfortably while providing great containment. Speaking of containment, there's also a little small strip of fabric stitched onto the upper around the area where the upper materials actually meet the midsole. That should provide a little bit more of containment. The oversized swoosh is made of a soft plastic material that is stitched onto the upper and also coming down onto the midsole, providing further lateral containment. The overall design and silhouette looks and definitely feels a little bit bulky and stiff with a little bit of forefoot flex, but definitely needs some break-in time. I think the midsole is intentionally designed so it helps with forefoot flex right there when it dips. And here is the see-through plastic plate that adds a good amount of torsional support. These shoes come with very thick rope laces that do not come undone easily when you tie them up for basketball, which is great. And the total package of all of those materials comes together to add up to 15.13 ounces or 429 grams, which is one of the more heavier shoes that I have in a US size 9. Just to put things in better perspectives, my formerly heaviest shoes was the Jordan Mellow M8, which to my surprise weighs a little less than the Nike Cosmic Unity. Most of my basketball shoes that I played in weighed somewhere around 13 to 15 ounces, with this Jordan 28 SE coming in at 13 ounces or 370 grams. I've compared many of my basketball shoes to the Jordan 28 because it's in my legendary level. So in comparison to all of the basketball shoes that I played in, the Cosmic Unity feels a little bit heavy, especially for a low top. Next up, let's talk about traction. My pair actually comes with XDR outsole or extra durable rubber, since I ordered an EP version as this colorway released in Asia a little bit early. And the overall traction pattern is probably the simplest one that I've ever seen on a basketball shoe. Just straight up herringbone up and down everywhere, and coming up on the medial side as well as the tip of the toe, and also coming up a little bit on the heel part. The grooves are relatively thick, The pattern is nicely spaced apart to avoid dust clustering too much, and the XDR compound is pretty firm and should be durable. On the indoor hardwood court that I played on, the traction grips decently. There's no squeak as you can or cannot hear. Laterally, the stopping power is not too good, but it's acceptable. So I'm definitely not the shiftiest guard, and I don't do a lot of crossover movements, side to side, changing up direction too much. So this traction works out just okay for me. But if you are, super shifty, I don't think it'll hold you down, or I don't think it'll keep up with your movements as nicely as something that you probably prefer, like a Kyrie or a Kobe. Now, before wrapping up this performance review video, I actually did watch a couple of videos from Nightwing, Sammy Lee, Richie Kim, Shades and Souls, also Shuit. Oh, and also Marches. I think their satisfaction levels with traction vary depending on the condition of the court. I'm just going to make an educated guess that you'll be pretty happy if you play in these outdoors. And if you can get an XDR version, that'll be even better. Now, if you play on an indoor court that occasionally gets dusty, like mine, you probably don't get a lot of good grips on it without constant wiping. Okay, now let's talk about my favorite part about the shoes, the cushion setup. Full length Air Zoom Strobel. I think you can barely see right here through this little transparent window. And it is awesome. Wrapping around and encasing the Air Zoom Strobel is a version of the Crater Foam from Nike, I believe, since it's a recycled or more sustainable basketball shoe design, I should say. And to the touch, it's actually pretty absorbent and somewhat soft, to my surprise. Just to clarify, it's not like Cushlon or Lunarlon or React or Boost soft, but it's actually not uncomfortably stiff. That's a better way to describe it. I certainly think that the foam is more for aesthetic purposes and containment rather than comfort. Speaking of comfort, let's take a look at the insole to see how the step-in comfort feels like. And the insole is almost identical to the KD13 insole, which is a stiff styrofoam looking with the indentation of the Zoom Strobel. And step-in comfort is just okay, not too great, but I do like the fabric lining up top that grips onto my sock pretty nicely. Here's a closer look at the styrofoam looking material that will mold to your feet pretty nicely once you play a lot in them. And underneath that insole is the fantastic invention of a cushion setup, which is Air Zoom Strobel. Full-length Zoom Air covering from the tip of your toe all the way to your heel, and the built-in flex screws allow the Zoom Air to flex with your feet more naturally. There's just no complaint from me with Air Zoom Strobel. None at all. And if you've never felt or physically touched a Zoom Air unit, this is the only way that you can do it without destroying your shoes. And once you felt a Zoom Air unit in your hand, you'll understand what your feet would feel when you run in them, because it's so bouncy, it returns energy, but it's not mushy. So when you stand on it, you don't feel like sinking into the shoe, but when you run and do certain movements, OMG, it just makes you feel faster and more explosive. Okay, enough about Zoom Air. Now the Crater Foam that I mentioned wraps up around your feet very nicely to support and contain your feet for lateral movements. The overall cushion setup is just awesome, and impact protection is great, especially when I do a good landing with my toes touching the ground first, and the heel to toe transition is extremely smooth and your feet feel really close to the ground. I don't think I've ever felt so close to the ground with this much of impact protection. My shins, my knees, and my back felt great going off for rebounds. And this is one of the shoes that I can definitely see myself playing outdoors even, because the impact protection is pretty good. And on days where I play longer hours or on weekends that I play back-to-back days, I'll definitely gravitate towards these just because my knees and my body in general just need a little bit more cushion. $150 is the retail price for these, and I think it's very reasonably priced. I would totally go for these over, let's say, the KD13 for the same price, because aesthetically speaking, this is just so dope, especially in this space hippie colorway. Before I give my overall rating for these Nike Cosmic Unities, please allow me to kind of explain my random rating scale. The highest rating would be legendary. Those shoes stay in my personal Hall of Fame and will never leave my collection ever, and I cannot wait to hoop in them in every single hoop session. Awesome shoes are shoes that I really enjoy playing in and definitely stay in my hooping rotation. Nice hoop shoes are those that I enjoy playing in but probably will leave my rotation very soon. Okay shoes are shoes that I probably would not recommend unless you find them on deep discount, and not okay shoes are just dangerous to play in. So the Nike Cosmic Unity for me personally are just good hoop shoes to have. I would not keep them in my rotation just because of the subpar traction and the less than ideal heel containment and fit overall. I hope that this performance review has been helpful for you. Bye!